Hi, this is Women in Finance. Let's Talk, the podcast. I'm here with Kerry Burgess, who's my first guest, and we're going to talk about careers in finance, the challenges that we face, and what we can do to encourage the next generation. Hi, Kerry. Welcome to the podcast. Great to have you here.
Thank you, Siobhan.
So, obviously, you've been working in financial services now. How long have you been working for?
29 years, believe it or not, which has gone
Really?
really quick. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes, I entered at the age of 18. I left college and financial services was my first sort of job that I went into and flew from there, really.
Yeah. Oh, amazing. Okay, well, yeah, for myself, I've worked just over 10 years now, and I can tell you, like, it literally flies by. And for myself, like, it just literally felt like I've entered, only a year ago or so. Sometimes when you think about how quick it's all come across and all that kind of thing. So, how did you begin your career then in finance? Was it something you'd always intended to do, or is it something you fell upon?
I wanted to be an air hostess, believe it or not. So I was
Wow.
at college and I was applying to all the different airlines, and I literally had no response whatsoever. Um, I then went to the careers office with about 2 weeks left of sixth form college. So I went to Reigate sixth form, and yeah, so 2 weeks left. Went to they had a careers office at that point, so it wasn't like the job centre or anything. There was actual a focused company that looked after those that were sort of coming out of uni or coming out of college. So I went there and they sat me down, and it was one of those computers, answer these questions, and then it came up with a few sort of different ideas. Woolwich Life was one of the jobs that came up as administrator, and what attracted me, and not going to lie, it was the money side of it, so what I could potentially earn. So I went along to the interview, was fortunate and managed to secure that role. For my start date that I was meant to join at Woolwich, a letter arrived from British Airways offering me an interview for the same day that I was due to start at
Yeah.
Woolwich Life. And I turned it down because I thought, you know what, sometimes things happen for a reason. And I felt my direction of travel was to stay in financial services and give it a go, because I knew I could always go back and try again with the airlines later on if that was something that I wanted to pursue further down. So yes, 29 years. I'm not going to sit here and go through every single role I've
No,
ever had,
no,
because
no, of
we'll
course
still be
not.
here at lunchtime.
Yeah, no, no.
um,
So, but no, that's fine, of course. Obviously, when we met, you were working at Fidelity.
that's
I was
right, yeah.
working at Bell Penny. So, like I say, that was like just over 10 years ago, thereabouts. And yeah, it's been a long time since then. Obviously, with the beauty of LinkedIn, means that we can all connect and see what's going on and like who's joined where. And obviously, you joined Progeny, um, and you are currently a regional advisory services manager.
Correct, yeah.
So tell us what all that's about.
Yeah, so my role at the moment, I say at the moment because my role from what I came in to do and what I'm doing are slightly two different things at the moment. Reason being is because Progeny is an acquisition, well, has been through a lot of acquisitions. So very much the skill set that I brought to the role here is my operations and my people strategy background. Because at the point that I joined, so two of the largest integrations had taken place. So that was the Fry Group, and also Gibbs Denley. So there was a lot of work involved in trying to integrate those businesses into Progeny. So have Progeny working as one efficient unit where you had all your processes and your procedures in place, and then you could then sort of train that out then with the newer people coming into the proposition. But one of the hardest things with acquisitions is often those business owners sell and then they exit the business. So those that were working in those businesses now find themselves in a completely different environment with completely different processes, systems, and everything else. And it's about trying to retain those individuals because they didn't choose to be there. It was their business owners that chose to be there, and they've had to go with the flow. So some of the experience that I've had previously that I can sort of bring into this role now that has helped is, when I was at First Wealth, I was people operations director there. And
Mm.
one of the things that we did very well was training. So learning, development, having that clear career path, and teaching people, or supporting people more than teaching people, how they could progress within their careers. Um, So I had 8 years at First Wealth and thoroughly enjoyed my time there. Started as a practice manager and worked my way up into to become a director there. I did my level 5 CIPD qualification when I was at First Wealth, and that was people management strategy again. So it was sort of looking at reward and recognition programs, training and development, those sorts of things. I self-funded to do my CIPD level 7 qualification, and I finished that in May this year. So heavy going, full-time job and doing a 2-year university equivalent course. So I thought, I didn't go to uni when I finished college. I thought, no, I need to earn some money. I can't be in university for 3-4 years racking up all this debt. So financial services has become one of those fantastic platforms in which you can learn and earn, is how I say it. So you're not going to get into shed loads of debt, because actually there are a lot of organisations around now that do actually support that learning and development piece. So you're actually earning a decent salary and progressing as you go. So my career path went from administrator, paraplanner, office manager, practice manager. As you said, you and I met at Fidelity when I was an account manager there. And I think the beauty of where I've been and what I've done is I've been provider side, I've been financial planner side,
Yeah.
I've been in boutique size business, I've been in large size businesses. So I've kind of done a bit of everything in that 29 years.
Yeah, you've kind of seen it all from different sides. Yeah. No, which is great, which is great. And 100%, like, I agree. Like, I think it's such a the profession we work in is such a good platform for being able to study alongside working.
Yes.
And I definitely know, like, from all my experiences, really, that yeah, the companies there, like, they're more than supportive in terms of helping you afford to study. And obviously, it benefits them, it benefits you. And I think it's, yeah, personally, had I known this was an option when
Yeah.
I went to uni, I think I would have preferred this than going to uni and trying there, really, to be
Yeah.
fair. So yeah. Okay, so yeah, no, that's great, and it's lovely to hear, like, how you've kind of like taken your skills from First Wealth and have applied them here. Obviously, alongside this, you've told me before that you're sort of acting as a bit of a coach and a mentor. This is kind of like with work, but also, like, on a one-to-one basis as well, isn't it? So
Yeah.
what does that entail?
So I did a certificate in coaching and mentoring of leadership, and must have been about 6 odd years ago now. So it was a while ago. But some of the clients that I've worked with have been for different reasons. So some of them have been career change. So
Yeah,
where financial services is something they want to consider doing because they've done other jobs before. One gentleman was a teacher. Another gentleman worked actually in a garden centre, and he wanted to get into financial services. So it's not that I've got a specific niche in the clients that I look after. It's just whoever has sort of come to me and I felt that I could engage with that individual and help them. I've had individuals who have wanted to look at more confidence around sort of how do they have those important conversations, with leadership to gain sort of pay reviews and things like that, or to ask for career progression and support. Um, I've had other people that have come to me because actually they've got to the point of feeling burnt out in their careers, and so they want to get that life work balance back into their days again. So I started experimenting about sort of, well, just after lockdown, where sort of walk and talk sessions, so
yeah,
meeting up with people in the local park, and so it's amazing how people open up a lot more when you're walking alongside them rather than in a, you're sat across a desk with them and it's a
yeah,
bit intimidating. And I put a workbook together, and that was a sort of get to know you document, and that sort of made them think about, okay, not just the career side of it, but actually all the other things that are important to them. Are they getting that right balance between family, work, progression? If it was a financial thing, what was driving that figure that they wanted to earn? Was it because of their incoming and outgoings, weren't quite matching up, and therefore was that the driver to want to earn more? So kind of tackled it in different ways. When I was at First Wealth, I did have to slow down on the coaching side of things,
Mm.
because being a director there, I was asked to sort of focus my attention on what my role was there. So that's probably the hardest part, I would say, in being a coach and mentor and not actually doing it within the company that you're working with, is
Yeah.
there can be a lot of restrictions then on what people would be happy for you to go on and do. So I'm at that stage, Siobhan, where I help the odd person out now, but not as much as I would like. You know, I've got my sights on the future of, okay, what does, not retirement, but semi-retirement. I don't even think I'm ever going to retire. I don't think I could. But what does it look like in sort of 10 years' time, when maybe I do want to drop down to sort of 3, 4 days a week
Yeah.
working? Could I pick up more coaching? You know, by the time the mortgage is paid off and you're less sort of financially responsible yourself, you've
Yeah.
got a little bit more freedom and flexibility to therefore be
Exactly.
able to help others.
Yeah. Oh no, honestly, I think it's great. Obviously, with all the work that you've done before, and still being able to kind of dabble in it. But yeah, 100%. I mean, even with this podcast as well, this is very much like I say, a new hobby of mine. Should we say it's a new passion, new thing? And for me, this is the whole point of this podcast is just to kind of like open up the conversations a bit more. Um, I think one of the things that we do kind of lack in the industry is that whole coaching and mentor vibe, or partnerships that we can have, but more so in the fact that like it's kind of having someone to kind of bash heads with, ask questions, feel completely relaxed and open. Obviously there are groups around there as well. I'm going to do a cheeky little mention to the Empowered Women in Finance group, which I'm part of, and I think you're in there too, Kerry. But that's all about kind of just creating a space that where you can feel free to ask those questions. But in terms of like mentorship, in terms of like your career progression, sometimes that's really hard to find. And obviously, I suppose in bigger firms, they've got the availability to kind of do it in house, and you've got like advisors that you can have as your mentor. But I think aside from that kind of career progression as an advisor, there isn't much sort of coaching or mentorship around for those individual roles.
Yeah.
Um, so yeah, so well, I mean, this leads us really nicely to my next question, which is obviously having both of us have had some experience in the finance profession. What do you think we can do better as a whole? Like, how can we make um the services that we provide the best we can, but also kind of get rid of that whole idea, should we say, of the fact that we're just there to take your money and spend it. You know what I mean? Like, we're not there. Like, we're there to help. We're there to kind of achieve your goals and your objectives and all that
Yeah.
kind of thing. But what can we do better? What would you say?
Oh, but okay, clients typically come to a financial planner because they want peace of mind. They want to know they're going to be okay. And
Yeah.
no amount of AI that we're integrating into these businesses now that are improving efficiencies and processes, none of that is going to replace that human element of somebody saying to you, you're going to be okay. Now, you've got cash flow modeling, absolutely fantastic. A picture speaks 1,000 words. People can look at that and say,
Mm,
okay, well, if I put that in, that's going to have that difference to me. It's all those things that we can add value that demonstrate to the client that they are going to be all right. Now, from like you touched on career progression element of it just then, and I think we are an aging population in the financial services profession. So I'm older than you, and I sort of joined in the late 90s. I'd go to a conference, I'd be one of the very few women in the room. Do you know, if you were
yeah.
ever hovering by the coffee machine, they'd assume that you were one of the waitresses rather than actually one of the attendees. So, I mean, it
No.
was very much like that. But you go to
Yeah.
conferences now, and I love the diversity in
Mm,
the rooms, not just female male ratios, but people from all different backgrounds and all
yeah.
different levels within their careers as well. So one of the things that I would love to get involved in is if got into a position where I could affiliate with a local college, because I don't know if you know much about the T-level qualifications they've got now. Well, there is a finance one. So, and I
Okay.
know this because my twins are 18 now. So a couple of years ago, we were sort of going around the colleges and looking at what
Yeah.
the options were. And this T-level thing come up. I've never heard of that before. So I started sort
Mm.
of having a conversation with one of the teachers, and then it sort of started my brain going as to, as a local business, you could affiliate with a local college because they've got the finance element of it. Go in and actually show those individuals what they can get from us as a career. We have
Mm.
got a lot of new advisors coming through, not at the rate that we're losing older advisors to retirement, but the newer ones coming through, they are being meticulous at getting those qualifications. So, they got the chartered exams, but they don't have the experience. We're losing a lot of aging advisors where they have got lots of life and lived experiences,
Mm.
all the different economic cycles that we've been through, and they can share that with the client. Our younger ones coming through haven't had that. They probably aren't
No.
even old enough to remember their parents going through those things. So what we are missing is you've got the experience leaving, but the qualifications coming in. So
Yeah.
we've got to try and get the older generation of advisors that are sort of nearing retirement, or if not coming up to retirement, how do we engage with those advisors and actually encourage them to remain mentors of those newer advisors coming through?
Yeah.
Is there some way within our training schemes, within the organisation? So we do have an academy at Progeny. We're very fortunate here, but there are a lot of companies that don't have that.
Yeah.
But I think if we can actually, have a lot of companies across the profession looking at those advisors that are coming up to that retirement age and thinking, how can we nurture that experience that they've got to bring those other newer advisors through?
Yeah.
That again is a lost. We're losing a lot of experience.
Yeah. No. And it's that is very true. Very true. I think even for myself, one of the biggest setbacks that I've had when it
Yeah,
was come to like applying for new roles, or originally trying to even go into compliance in the first place, because
yes,
obviously I'd first started as an admin, was purely because I just didn't have experience in it. And I was very lucky that when someone did finally take the opportunity to give me the chance to see what it was like, that they did so. And I think it's so true. I mean, there's so many scenarios, there's so many um like changes that happen, not just
yeah,
politically, but like say like the economics, the way that things are going right now in the world and all that kind of stuff. There's all these different impacts, and you're right, these younger advisors, or these people who've maybe not gone into advising straight away, they don't have that experience, and they don't have the experience of like how to deal with your clients, how to deal with your customers, or that client facing side of things. How do you reassure them? Because let's be honest, when things do go like that, it is a bit of a panic, it is a bit of a shock to the system. But as our role in financial services is about being that reassuring factor, to be
yeah,
like, don't worry, we're holding your hand, we're fine, we've got this, we know what we're doing. And it's kind of like, how do you kind of pass that knowledge and experience to make it work? And
yeah,
yeah, I think you're right. I think there is a huge gap there between doing that, and I very much agree. I think the way to kind of help bridge that is by encouraging them to stay on as mentors, or even
yeah,
just kind of talk about it. I mean, I think we have all these conferences and all this stuff, and we're always talking about what's going to happen in the future and all this stuff thing. But for myself, someone who's a bit of a nerd about the kind of history of finance as well, sometimes I like to know what was it like back then, when the stock markets fell like suddenly and all that kind of. Tell
yeah,
me. I think maybe we need something like that as well, like where there's
yeah.
a history tour, should we say, as in this is what happened, and this is how we all had to deal with it at the time, and
Yeah.
whichever kind of thing. I don't know.
I remember 1999 and going out New Year's Eve, and so just before we sort of broke up for the Easter Christmas holidays even, I remember the people at work in the sort of tech team in particular going, oh my God, when it changes over to the millennium, oh, the computer's going to decombust, and is the world going to end on the 1st of January? And and it was just those sort of things that
Yeah.
you've got to be there to
Yeah,
appreciate
exactly.
what
Well,
went on
yeah,
at
I
that
mean,
point.
there's yeah, no, there's always something, isn't there? But
Yeah.
yeah, okay. Well, I mean, we've kind of touched upon it like slightly briefly, but obviously we're talking about these sort of newer advisors. Part of the issue that we have at the moment as well in the profession is there isn't enough new people coming in,
No.
or people switching careers kind of thing and coming into finance. But not just as advisors, but there's a significant lack of power planners, or available power planners, should we say? Like everyone's like taken up, even if they're self-employed. Again, with your administration team, and all those other supporting roles, we need like an influx of candidates coming in to
We do.
kind of keep that system moving.
Yeah.
What can we do to encourage more people to join financial services?
I think we've got to focus on that learn and earn stuff.
Yeah,
So I think we've got to focus on, getting into college age individuals. So before they're even thinking about what university they're going to go to, and I think they start thinking of that in their first year of college, and you've only got that 2-year window, haven't you?
yeah,
So you've got sixth form within affinity schools and sixth form colleges. You've got to have a think about there. We've got to be focusing on the year 11, year 12 students. And
hmm,
we've got to be encouraging, or not encouraging, acknowledging and letting them know that there are opportunities to grow and develop within our profession.
yeah,
Now, I'm not just here to encourage people to go through and become, advisors, because my background, as I said to you, admin, power planning, office manager, into practice manager, my drive is people, is looking after people.
yeah,
I've done my level 4 diploma qualification. I could have gone on to be an advisor, and it just didn't float my boat.
yeah,
So, for me, mine's all about my satisfaction is from getting and helping and developing others within their careers. Now, we have individuals within our businesses that might start off as an administrator, but actually they've got their sights on looking after, the asset management side of things. So they might then start sitting with other individuals from other areas of business to learn more about those things. You've got admin that's gone into marketing, or admin that's gone into project management. So the beauty of the larger organizations is that you've got those individual roles within it. Sometimes the boutique size firms don't have those individuals within the business. You end up having to sort of contract to an external provider. So therefore those individuals in that company don't necessarily see those other roles as options. But
yeah,
definitely where you've got larger organisations, you've got more choice. At Progeny, so the academy is going to be expanded out. So it's not just admin to power planner to advisor. It actually is going to be start considering other areas of the business as well, and how can we start to home grow those individuals within those roles.
yeah. Thank you for that, Kerry. That's the end of episode 1, part 1. Come back for part 2 shortly. See you there. Bye.